Welcome back. My name is Brittany Delk, and I am the creator and host of You Said It, Let Me Remind You, the YouTube series. Today's episode is titled The Perfect Lie. Perfectionism is making you feel like you are never enough. And I am not alone in this discussion. And I want to make sure I get this right because my next guest does it all. She's a psychiatrist, a forensic specialist, and a medical health expert. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dr. Yalda Safai to the show. Hi, Dr. Yalda.
Hi, thank you so much for having me to discuss this really important topic. So thanks for highlighting it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Now, I want to kind of start off with when it comes to perfectionism, we hear it often. I know I did hearing, you have to have the perfect grades, you have to be the perfect student, have perfect attendance. And especially if you add being an athlete or a creative or even being a performing arts kids, you hear about how much things, your performance or your body or the training has to be perfect. Should we equate perfectionism with striving for excellence?
Absolutely not. I think there's a big difference between the two. I think striving for excellence is different for each and every person depending on their capabilities. If I do 10% more than I did the day before, for me, that is striving for excellence, right? But my 10% more might not be the equivalent of what your 10% more is, right? And comparing the two, I think, is very, very unfair. I think people should strive for excellence, strive for improvement in every aspect of their lives, and strive to be a better person, strive to do better in your career, in your academics, in your relationships. All of that is great. But being a perfectionist and being perfect is something that I think is not really an attainable thing. And in fact, striving for that perfect might lead you down a very dark road of depression and anxiety. So I think always try to be better, even 10% more, 5% more, 2% more in everything you do. But being perfect, I think I would like to even toss out that word. I don't even like that word. Being better is a better word.
Is there a moment or a story you recall where someone was trying, going above and beyond, trying to be perfect, and it ended up actually doing the complete opposite and setting them back?
Oh, that happens all the time. So I treat patients all the time who are under so much pressure, especially our adolescents nowadays. They need to
Mhm.
have the perfect grades to get in college. Some of them are athletes, their scholarships are dependent on it. I mean, my partner is a former Olympian, and I hear from his
Oh,
stories all
wow.
the time how much, yeah, pressure he was under. So I hear these stories of this tremendous amount of pressure people are in. And because of that stress and that anxiety, they end up becoming paralyzed when in fact every day they're doing more and more to attain their goal. Say you like my partner want to be an Olympian, you're practicing every day, you're doing all the exercises that you're supposed to, because you're under so much stress, it kind of hinders your progress. That anxiety is debilitating, and I see it all the time, and especially our youth nowadays.
So let's kind of go back a little bit. So, what are some of the traits of a perfectionist? Because I think I fit some of those. I know I probably fit some of the description, but what are some traits of a perfectionist, and what are some that we may be surprised that you're like, oh, I didn't know that actually that's something I do all the time, and here it is that may be of a perfectionist.
Well, obsessive compulsive personality disorder is actually a disorder that's defined in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Illness. It's basically like the Bible of mental illness that we follow. So, obsessive compulsive personality disorder or perfectionism is actually categorized as a disorder. And people who have this personality spend so much time trying to perfect the little things that they end up not being able to accomplish much. Say someone has that personality disorder at work, they spend so much time on one particular task trying to perfect it, that they end up procrastinating, they end up not being able to finish all their work in a timely manner. They end up staying hours after work to try to get everything done because they have just spent so much time obsessing over the little tasks to make it perfect. So it's actually, in clinical terms, debilitating for someone who truly has this disorder. Now, perfectionism in a pop culture terminology, not clinical, means just somebody who wants everything to be perfect. They want to do the best at everything, which, you know, those people who are just perfectionists but don't have the personality disorder, obviously, their symptoms are not debilitating. They don't reach that level, but still can hinder them. They still might spend too much time on a certain task because they think it's not good enough. They think what they are accomplishing themselves, what they're creating, what they're doing is just not good enough. It's never good enough. They compare themselves to other people and always think other people's work or achievements are better than their own. So we see this a lot. Actually, it's a lot more common. I'm sure as a working professional, there was a time in your life that you felt like, oh, I'm not good enough. Things I'm doing is not as good enough as other people's. It happens to me all the time. I compare myself all the time to other people. I feel like what I'm doing and achieving is not good enough. So we do see that a lot. But I just want to point out that this could be an actual disorder that would need treatment. So I think, but let's put those people in a different category.
And what would some of that treatment entail for those who do
It's
have the
mainly
disorder?
therapy. It's
Oh, okay.
therapy. It's not too much medication because it's not OCD. OCD is a different
Right.
thing. It's
Hmm.
obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And through therapy, they work with trying to let go of certain things and try not to spend too much task on certain things or obsess over certain things. So it's mainly just therapy, but it does take a little bit of time. Like you have to be in therapy for a long time.
And I know you mentioned something earlier too about with perfectionists, they're never feeling like sometimes they're good enough or living up to that. And that made me think of imposter syndrome. So how are those two interconnected?
Oh, that's so interesting that you mentioned that. I think imposter syndrome is more like you can't believe that you are doing the things that you're doing. For example, you got promoted and now you're like managing something big and you tell yourself, oh, I'm not worthy of this. Oh, they'll soon find out that, I'm not capable of doing this or they shouldn't have promoted me. So you think you're not worthy or capable of the task that you are doing. But I think being a perfectionist is a little bit different from that because with the imposter syndrome, you're already at that post. You already achieved something, but you feel like you don't deserve it. And you feel like people are going to find out you're a fraud. So it's a little bit different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. For you, when you are with a patient and you're realizing that they may either have the disorder when it comes to perfectionism, what are some things that you look for to see what may have happened in their upbringing or their childhood, or what patterns do you look for to kind of indicate what led to them being so hard on themselves or to living up to trying to be perfect?
Sure. When we see a patient, we always try to get a history of their family, where they grew up, their culture. We try to get a better understanding of all of that in order to come up with a comprehensive plan or conclusion about this patient. I mean, what I've noticed, and I think you would agree with me, that culture is a big deal here. It has a big play in or big pull in how people complete tasks or how they work in their daily lives. Some cultures place a higher emphasis on academic achievements or sports achievements or school in general than others. I mean, I think the American culture also is a little bit like that. I think we put a lot of pressure on our youth nowadays to achieve as much as they can, get the best grades they can, be great at sports, get into the best colleges. But you also see that a lot more with certain other cultures, and I would think like the Japanese culture or the Chinese culture. Also, they place a lot of emphasis on excellence and achievements. And while it's great because both of those nations are very successful, it is great. But I think there is a fine line between wanting the best for your kids and installing those values in them versus placing enormous pressure on them. Because if you place enormous pressure on them, you venture into the side of creating anxious and depressed children. And you don't want that. And the American culture as well. I feel like nowadays kids are just so anxious. They're so worried about everything. I mean, when I was 14 years old, yes, I had goals. I wanted to become a doctor back then. I knew what I had to do to get there. But I wasn't as anxious as kids are nowadays about getting into college. I mean, we start them young nowadays. We put this mindset in them that they have to achieve, 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 starting like, I'm sorry, in kindergarten and first grade sometimes. That's not okay. We're creating a very anxious generation. I hope there'll be some change in the future, but I think there is that fine line between wanting your kids to be the best and just doing too much and placing too much pressure on them. So culture is a big factor. Second thing, I've also noticed that people with a history of abuse or trauma, since their childhood has been chaotic and they weren't fully in control of what happened to them, when they grow up, they want to make sure that they're in as amount. They want to make sure that they're in control of their lives in any shape or form that they can. They don't want unpredictability. They want to make sure that everything goes according to their plans. So they tend to become a little bit more perfectionist, a little bit more obsessive over their work just to make sure they're in control of things, if that makes sense. So I've noticed that with people with a history of trauma as well. That's understandable. If your entire life was so chaotic and messy, and things happen to you that they shouldn't have happened to you, you really strive to have a life where you are in full control of things. So I think that's totally understandable. So I think those two are very, very important to note: the culture, the upbringing, the family. Certain families where there's high achieving parents, obviously they want the kids to, be successful as well. So even if they don't come from a certain culture, just being in a family that's so successful or wealthy, they put this pressure on their kids to achieve the same. So family is really important as well. So those 3 points I'm seeing a lot about the culture, the trauma, and the family, I think are the most important points.
For parents listening to this, what is something that they can start working on today to help make sure that they're not aiding or adding to their child being so anxious, especially once you, as you mentioned earlier, with it starting at such a young age, with such the pressure they're already facing from society. Now they're getting it in their home as well. What can parents do at home to kind of help with
Sure.
that?
There's a saying, I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to try to say it. The saying is, if you, and help me out here if you know what it is. If you compare, if you measure a fish's ability by its ability to climb a tree, do you know what I'm talking about? Like you,
Never
do
heard
you know
that
what I'm talking
one,
about?
but
That thing?
I'll
It's
try
like
to I'll try to help you.
the
I don't want to
point
leave you out there.
the point of the saying is, like, everybody has different abilities and you
Okay.
shouldn't have one metric of measuring success. Not everybody is good at math, but if you measure everybody the same in school and put a metric of achievement as getting an A in math, well, some people are just not good at it, and those people might grow up to become very, very successful people. But you can't compare everybody, you can't put everybody in the same box. People have different abilities. So please recognize that in your children. If they do, I did terrible in math, but my sciences was really good. And when I was younger, I grew up thinking I was stupid because I couldn't understand math and physics. That's not the case. I got through math school and, I did what I had to do. So I don't think it was fair for people to measure my intellect or my abilities or my ability to do math, right? So I want parents to remember that you have to discover what your kid is good at and let that flourish and really nourish that instead of focusing on things that they just might not have talent for. Don't pressure them. Don't make them feel like they are stupid, they're not able to achieve, they're not able to succeed because they're not doing good in a certain topic in school. I think that's really, really important to understand. And I wish our education system could be customized, because I think that would create a lot more successful children. But right now, the standards are the same. Everybody gets measured on the same metric, which, this is what I always tell my adolescents, patients. I'm like, please, if you're not doing well in school and, like, say 50% of the topics, find out what you're doing good at and let yourself be defined by that. Because say English you're really good at and you'll excel at. Your future will be in English. It won't be in math and physics. So please don't let that get to you. So I think the parents should really understand that and recognize that.
And how did you overcome that? Because you obviously in your field, you had time to work on it and have a better understanding of it. But there are people out there, especially a lot of adults who haven't worked on it and who still carry some of those core memories of feeling like they weren't smart enough because they didn't excel in this or felt in other ways where there may be a teacher or an adult or a friend or a classmate who said something negative about them and it made them feel less than and they carry that with them still to this day. So what ways did you try to overcome, that feeling when you think back and hear those moments you weren't good at
Sure.
math or you weren't good at something else?
Okay, sure. So my entire life, up until the point where I went to medical school, my first semester of medical school, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm stupid. I got into medical school, I started studying, and then I was like, oh my God, I get this. I'm good at this. Like, I can do medicine. So it was like an aha moment for me. Like, how old was I? I was like 22 or 23 when I went to med school. Up until that point, I just believed that I wasn't smart. And then I had this aha moment. So I think people have to figure out if they're feeling that way, if somebody's making them feel that way, go do the thing you're good at to boost your confidence. It will make you feel so much better. Find that thing you love doing and you're good at and do it. You will develop so much confidence by that because you're good at it and you're enthusiastic about doing it. So it just gives you a boost of confidence. And after that, after I went to med school, I had that aha moment. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I'm not stupid. I'm like, I deserve to be here. I deserve to be a doctor. So yeah, just find out what you're good at, what you like doing, and do it to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that because, like you said, math is not really my jam, but English and history, I
Yeah,
can work with that, but like math and like science, I'm like, unless we're like dissecting a frog or something, then I'll be like interested. But
yeah,
other than that, I'm just like, I don't really care
yeah,
about it. But English and history and writing, those were definitely my strong points.
yeah.
Something you also mentioned earlier is kind of how I notice with like the comparison trap, which is so prevalent, especially when it comes to social media. What is something that you wish that, or something that you would like for people to keep in mind when they start having those moments of doubt or they're feeling insecure in those moments?
That's really good. I wanted to bring the comparison thing because do not ever, ever, ever compare yourself to anybody else. That's the easiest way to take away your joy. That is the easiest way to fall into a depressive episode. That is the easiest way to become anxious. Remember, I said people don't have the same abilities, so they should never. I want the teenagers to know this because I think they're the most vulnerable. Never ever compare yourself to other people, whether it's your abilities, whether it's the way you look, whether it's whatever. Everybody is unique in their own shape or form. No two people are created alike, and that's what the beauty of it is. I don't think a certain look or a certain ability is better than others. It's just different. Remember that you are different. Don't compare. You are unique. Find out the things that you love about yourself and remind yourself that when you're getting into that trap of comparing. So good. I love that you mentioned that. So
Yeah, and I think for women, it's even more of that societal pressure that feel like we have to look a certain way, act a certain way, and be a certain way. What is something that you would like for women to kind of improve or change when it comes to setting their own standards within themselves and stop trying to live up to the societal standards that we feel that are kind of forced upon us in a way?
I want to mention something here because I realized this a few years ago that looking perfect and being perfect is boring.
Oh,
I don't
yes.
know if you agree about this or not, but I mean, I like any sort of young woman fell into the trap of comparing myself to other people before I realized that, oh my God, that is so boring. Like, I don't want to look perfect. I want to have these like quirks and like these unique things about myself, these little flaws that make me unique and actually, I think, make me more beautiful. Same thing with people who are trying to achieve something. How boring is it to be on a straight road with no obstacles and achieving everything that you set your mind out to do? Like, it's boring. Those stories of overcoming hurdles, of setbacks, of failures, it's what makes the story unique and interesting. So I tell people, why on earth would you want to be perfect? Like, no, that is not like, say you wanted to write a book, say they wanted to make
Mhm.
your life a book. How boring would that book be if everything was just like great? You know,
Yeah,
you were the most beautiful thing ever and you achieved everything. You had such like that. Nobody wants to read that book. so,
right.
so think about all your quirks and all your failures and really celebrate them because that's, I think, what makes your journey unique.
I 100% agree. Like every movie has some type of plot. Like even the
Yeah.
protagonists, they have to go through something, and that's what kind of
Yeah.
molds you and shapes you, and makes you more resilient. If you have the courage and the strength to work at it and overcome it. If not, then you stay stuck and stay defeated, and then now you're the villain, and because you don't want to grow.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Is there anything else that I didn't ask or we didn't discuss that you think would be beneficial to this topic or for people to know?
You are genuinely suffering. You spend hours and hours and hours completing a task. And a lot of times people who have this problem might not realize it's a problem until way later on in their lives. But if you are genuinely struggling with something like this, get help. See a therapist. Even if the symptoms aren't too severe, they will help guide you to kind of letting go of some of these expectations of yourself. It's like lifting a weight off your shoulders sometimes. You put all these expectations on yourself, you're doing it to yourself. Nobody else is sometimes doing it to you. When you're a kid, your parents might, but as you grow older, you're putting these expectations on yourself, and you just need somebody to give you the permission to lift them. So if you're genuinely struggling, I would say please see a therapist. Another thing is, I want to emphasize that I think our current culture um, expects us to achieve all the time. If we're not
Mhm.
achieving, then we get anxious. Like we feel like
Yeah.
our self worth is tied into achieving something. I feel like this even, as an adult, every single day, if I don't do something productive for my work or my career goals, I feel like I wasted the day. I feel bad about myself at the end of the day. I get anxious. We need to let go of that. It's okay to rest. It's okay not to do anything. You are not defined by your achievements. I think we should let go of this the way of thinking. But unfortunately, this is how our culture and society has kind of done this to us, that we have to tie our self-worth to achievement. And I think learning that that's a problem is the first step to letting it go. But please just let it go. You are not, even if you don't achieve something, even if you take 3 years off from any sort of career achievement, that doesn't make you any less of a person. It doesn't make you any less worthy of anything. So I really want to emphasize that people should remember that.
Yeah, I agree. I think so much when you see those lists like 30 under 30 or 40 under 40, or you see just with social media, it makes you feel like, oh, like I have to hurry up and try to get this list, or I feel behind.
Yeah,
You see, when you see these articles and they highlight like, oh, they're 23 and now they're making $1 million, they have a
exactly.
Lambo in the car, and you're just like, I wasn't making
Yeah,
millions at 23. I was in student debt. I had student loan debt.
exactly.
So you feel like so
Exactly.
much, we often feel like we're behind. And again, we kind of set ourselves back by not resting, not prioritizing our mental health, not having fun and resetting. And then we just try to strive so much for all these accolades, but you still sometimes you reach all those achievements and you still feel empty. And it's because sometimes it wasn't really fulfilling you. It was just enough to kind of prove to others or have that external validation of that, hey, this is my worth. I did all these great things. Look at this. I'm making all this money. But it was it worth it at the end? Because sometimes it was just like you're on all these lists, but you still feel like there's something missing. And I think that's just like the worst feeling is like you worked so hard and then at the end of the day you go home every day feeling like something's not there. And it's just
Yeah,
because you obviously didn't work on yourself doing the inner work, or you kind of prioritize having more of the external validation and trying to have an extensive resume over having stuff that really maybe fulfills you. And sometimes the things that fulfill us may not be appealing to others. Like maybe you just want to have a food truck. And nothing's wrong with having a food
I
truck, but that's
actually would
maybe
love
just
to
what
have
you
a
want to
food
do.
truck. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
would love to have a food truck. I love that you mentioned that. That's like one of my goals and dreams.
Oh, I'm a foodie too, so
Yeah.
I will be buying something from your food truck. Do not worry.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, that's just what it makes me feel like. Sometimes it's just like you may want something smaller. I hear so many times that people who their dream job was to maybe work at like Pixar or something. They get it and they're like, actually, I don't even want to be here anymore. This doesn't, I don't want to do this. It doesn't feel right as much as I dreamed of. And then they're just like, everyone's like, what? It's Pixar. But yeah, you
Yeah,
hear the name and it holds weight. But if it's not fulfilling me, I shouldn't stay just to have this perfect image of me having this
exactly.
perfect, awesome dream job. So yeah, I
Exactly. Exactly.
agree.
I'm just gonna say one sentence because this is what helped me. I constantly tell myself, perfect is boring, be messy. That's what I tell myself. And I love it. Like, messy is good. It's okay. Chaotic is sometimes okay. So let go of things. Being perfect is boring, like we mentioned. So that's the sentence that helps me. And I want anybody listening to this, the next time they feel less of or they feel inadequate, whether they see a video of somebody on social media or hear about somebody's achievement, just say to yourself, boring, messy is okay. Messy is fun. So just remember that.
How do you get comfortable being messy or being able to just go with the flow? Because I know I am kind of a little bit type A, so I struggle with just going with the flow. I want to have things planned. I want to know what's going on. I need to know.
Yeah.
And I've been working on that the past few years of just kind of like just taking it day by day, letting things just unravel as is. So, what are some steps with trying to be able to just be a little bit more lax in that?
I think it's a step by step type of thing. So if it's one thing that's bothering you, if you, for example, have to create a list and check off every single thing on your list, or else you can't go to bed, try not checking off two things and see how you feel. Just little things like that. And then over time, with practice, you soon start to realize you can let go. Like, it's not stressful for you to let go anymore. But it takes time and practice, but do baby steps, baby steps.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Yalda, for
Thank you
taking
so
time to
much.
speak with me. Is there anything you would like to promote, anything you're working on that you want everyone to know that we can mention?
I am working on a book right now. It's called How to Be Impolite. I won't say anymore, but I'm working on it right now, and I hope you'll be able to read it soon.
Yay. Well, thank you again. Oh, and also, are you on Instagram or any social media handles you want to drop for people to
I
follow?
am. I have a podcast called Freud and Felons on YouTube. It's about the psychology of devious human behavior, and my Instagram is Yalda Safai MD.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I
Thank you so much.
appreciate it. We'll see you guys next
Thank
time.
you. Thank you. Bye.